Hello, everyone. My name is Zenja Glass. Feel free to call me Z. I'm very happy to have you join my very first podcast episode. For some of you who may be watching, we are also video recording the episodes as well. So the very first topic that we're going to be talking about is what are you going to do with the time you have left? And let me explain a little bit why this is an important topic that I think we should start off with. For those who know me, you all know that I recently lost my mom, and I was very close to her. She was an amazing, amazing woman of God, and she left behind an amazing legacy. And her legacy was not in the form of cash or anything like that, or notoriety for that matter. Her legacy was simply teaching us the love of God, teaching us to treat people well, teaching us when you're going through tough times in life, how to pray, how to get through things, and how to basically pursue our dreams in life. And she was all about constantly motivating us in the Word. So the reason I want to start off with her is I was thinking through the other day when I sat at the hospital bed with my mom. I sat next to her, and her arms were so cold. Initially warm, but within a minute or so, it grew completely ice cold. And it was in that moment that I realized that she's gone. That what I was holding on to was simply just a shell of her that was left. And as weird as this may sound, I enjoy going to her gravesite and sitting and just literally staring at the ground where she was buried, because it reminds me that life is so short and that there's no more planning from the grave. Like once we leave, there's nothing else that we can do in terms of pursuing dreams or going after that passion or overcoming this situation, that it all comes to a halt at that point, at least in the physical, right? There's a passage that sticks really close to me, and it's in Ecclesiastes 9:10, and it says something like, whatever your hands find to do it with all your might. Because in the grave where you are going, there is neither working nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. In other words, there's nothing else that can be done, at least in the earthly realm, I should say, once we leave. That's why it's important, before we start having some episodes on pursuing your dreams and, living out your passion and, going back to school, writing that book. I mean, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. This podcast is going to be so fun. I'm going to put everything in you that I feel God has put in me. I'm going to talk about my mistakes, the mistakes I made when I did this, when I did that. I'm going to give you guys wonderful ideas on some things that you can do to, if you're between a rock and a hard place. And I'm going to talk all about how you can, no matter what situation you're in, how you can still grow from that and pursue your dreams and your passion. And by the way, that's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is all about me motivating and inspiring you to pursue your dreams and to pursue growing, I should say, the seeds that I know that God has planted inside of you, no matter how tough your situations are. So I'm going to dial back the dial a little bit and go back into the topic. So the topic is, what are you going to do with the time you have left? And before we can really have those other fun conversations we're going to be having about, as I said before, pursuing your dreams, I just want to lay a foundation and help you all to turn on something mentally, perhaps even spiritually, so that you guys can realize that my time here really is kind of short. So let's have a real fun experiment. Let's do this. If you're able to I don't know if you're driving. If you're able to pull over, that would be great. But if you're at home, if you're sitting and listening or watching this episode, I would love for you to get out a sheet of paper. And what I want you to do is get a marker or something, and I want you to draw a timeline. So if you're watching this video, you'll be able to see the timeline that I just drew out. And I don't care if you draw it in waves or if you just draw a line straight across a page, but I'd like for you to draw this timeline. And on this timeline, I'd like for you to start with maybe, I don't know, put the year 1500 on one end. And I'd like for you to have a lot of little markers in between. So every 50 years, you're gonna put, for example, 1500 and put a little marker there. And then maybe go over a space and then put 1550, put a little marker there, then 1600. You get my point. I want you to go from about 1500 all the way to, I don't know, let's just say the year 2300, okay? So take some time. You can even pause this, in whatever format you're listening to. Take some time to do that. Draw out a little timeline. Start from about 1500, go to about 2300. And I want you to put a marker for every 50 years. And I'm going someplace with this, so I need you to trust me a little bit, okay? So put a marker for every 50 years. Then after you do that, I want you to sit back for a little bit and take a look at what you just drew. And I want you to sort of highlight, I think I used a red highlighter of some sort, but I want you to highlight the years between, let's say, 2000 and 2100. Because for most of us, that's, well, for all of us that are watching in real time, that's the timeline that we're in right now, right? So about a 100-year span. You get my point? So between 2000 and 2100, highlight it. I don't care what color you use. Do whatever works for you. But highlight those two segments, okay? And I want you to sit back and think about that as you look at your timeline. I want you to say in your mind, okay, 1500, 1550, 1600, 1650. And I want you to kind of practice going all the way across up to the year, what did we say, 2300? But when you get to the years between 2000 and 2100, I want you to pay careful attention to that, because when I did this little experiment myself and I took a look at that, I can't even tell you what it did for me. It helped me to realize that really most of us only get about two of those sections. You know what I mean? Most of us only get about two of those little 50-year blocks. And that's, to be honest, if we're blessed to live 100 years, right? Right? I'm almost 50 as of the recording of this episode. So really, one of my blocks I've already used. So I just have that other little section left. We only get about two, right? For the most part, we only get about two. And you may say, well, Z, what's the point in this? Well, the point is, I want you to realize how short our time really is here on this little planet, and all of these little things that hold us back in life. I'm scared of what people are going to think, or what people are going to say, and or I don't have the finances to really do this, or I don't have the support, or you don't understand my situation, or da 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 da. I want to create some sort of noise inside of your head so that you can listen to the loud beat of time passing by. Time is passing by regardless of whether you're going to do something good with that time and leave a legacy, as my mom did. Right? Leave a legacy. And time's going to pass by if you choose to just keep watching motivational videos all day and never really get up and do anything about it. And either case is going to pass by. There's a really good passage I like in James 4:14, and you guys can look it up. And it says something like, your life is just a mist. You're just a mist. And then you vanish. Just let that sink in for a second. You're just a mist, and then you vanish. My mother was right there talking to me, encouraging me, telling me in some of her last words that I was a lion and that I'm going to make it. Telling me that I'm strong and always to be strong in the Lord. And my mom, for those of you who don't know, was an amazing woman. Most of my childhood, all the way up really until I finished college, she was a single parent. And she never really had money. We grew up on welfare and in the projects and all of that. She did the best she could. We ate at shelters. We were homeless. I can go into all of that. At the age of 12, even when we were downtown leaving Arkansas and coming to Wisconsin and in Illinois. And I remember when she asked someone for a quarter, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, we're homeless, right? I think about all of that. And even as I'm recording this episode, my heart is really touched because I think about she did something with the time that she had left. She made sure that every single day she instilled the Word of God into me and my siblings. And I'm hoping that as you think about that passage I just talked about in James 4:14, that you realize that all of us, me included, I'm no one different. Our lives are just a mist. We're just here one day and gone the next. So my goal, even in doing this podcast, and by the way, for those who don't know me, my career is helping people find jobs for a living. That's just what I've done. Almost 30 years and counting. I help people find jobs. That's what I do. I am simply walking in obedience by even creating this podcast because it was not on my mind to do. But as a result of going through some very difficult things in life, and for those who know me, you know the challenges we've had with one of my kids who's had major chronic medical issues, and as we even speak now, in many ways fighting for his life. And you guys know all of the other issues that I've been dealing with, from kids to, marriage. I can go on and on and on. As a result of simply sitting with God and begging Him to show me how on earth are you going to use this pain that I've been experiencing and help me to inspire and help others. He is the one that put in my heart, I need you to do something with this time you have left. So I'm simply walking in obedience by even doing this podcast. My goal is to inspire and motivate the world. I know that there are so many people that are hurting. I know this for a fact because in my career with me helping people find jobs for a living, I hear all the stories. I hear them all. And I know there are people that are out of work. There are people that have dreams they want to pursue and they're afraid of doing that. There are people that feel they have no support whatsoever. There are some people who feel like, I'm so messed up, whatever I do is going to fail anyway. And so when I look at all those things, there's something inside of me that burns, because I've been in so many of those categories, just so you know, that wants me to use the time I have left to leave a legacy and to help others. And so I'm hoping to inspire in you that same thing. So let's kind of go back to that exercise. One of the little things I left out is on that exercise, I want you to write on one end past, and then I want you to write eternity. So when you have that little graph up, and we're not done with it yet, just in case you thought we were, we're not. You have your graph that's going from like 1,500 to 2,300, right? Then you have that little section in there that you've highlighted, right? And then what you want to do is the part that has the 1,500, you want to put the past. And then the other part, you want to put eternity. Hopefully that makes sense, right? I want you to spend some time looking at that. And I want you to think about this one passage. It's in 2 Peter 3:8, and it says, with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. So think about that for a second and let that sink in. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. So as you sit and look at this graph or this chart or whatever you want to call it, just think to yourself, man, time really does go by really quickly, right? Whether I do something useful with it or not, right? Ask yourself this, because this is something I did. I said to myself, what was I going through 3 years ago on this exact day? And honestly, I couldn't even remember. Like I can think big picture, some of the big issues I was dealing with a couple of years ago, right? But what's funny about it is I literally cannot remember, okay, 3 years ago, let's say this week, what was I dealing with? Like what was I so upset about? What was I hurt about? I couldn't remember. And then it dawned on me, oh, that's because that was only a season in my life. And I actually got through it. And I've been through so many seasons, as I'm sure many of you have, and many of you are going through right now. But I've been through so many seasons that in the moment, it seems like it's going to last forever, right? In the moment, it's just like, oh my goodness, life is over. You know, what am I going to do? Da, 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 right? Just like when I was homeless, which is why I bought that up, with my mom. But it was just a season. So the last part I want you to do with this little bit of experiment is between 2000 and, what did we say, 2100? So in that little time frame, I want you to put a lot of little dots on it. As many little periods as you can put into that little space, put a lot of little dots in there. And I'm going somewhere with this, right? After you put all those little dots on that, stand back, take a look at it, and say to yourself, each of those little dots represents a season in my life. And what I'm hoping that you see as you do that, I'm hoping that you realize, at the time I didn't think I could get through that. I didn't see, oh my goodness, I'm thinking through situations with me. Oh my gosh, there's so many times I've been in situations where I just literally could not see my way out. Just could not see my way out. But as you take a step back and you look at that, I want you to just be encouraged and look and say, wow, there's a lot of seasons I've been through. And in fact, each dot, try to think of something you went through, a very difficult time or a hurting time, or for each dot you put down, try to think that through as you're putting it on that chart. And take a step back and look, and I would love for you to smile and say to yourself, my goodness, it was only a season. It was only a season. There's a really good friend of mine who used to tell me when I was going through a lot of tough things in life, Z, this too shall pass. As my mother would say, baby, joy comes in the morning. So I'm hoping that, I'm going to wrap this up now, but I'm hoping that as you look at this graph, you look at this chart, and you look at this timeline we've drawn, and you've had some time to think about a few of the little passages I've thrown your way, right? What I'm hoping and praying that you realize is two important things. One, life is very short. We're here today and we're gone tomorrow. It's very short. The second thing that I'm hoping that you realize is whatever you're going through right now, and I want to speak directly into this camera because I know as I'm saying these words, I'm talking to people that have either lost their jobs, dealing with, I'll just say, very bad relationship issues. Perhaps there are some single parents out there who feel like, I just don't know how I'm going to make it even another day, let alone another month. How on earth can I even be thinking about pursuing my dreams when I'm trying to keep food on the table? I mean, no matter what you're going through right now, if you're, people that are afraid of starting dreams, they're afraid of writing that book, they're afraid of starting a social media account, no matter what it is that you're going through because you're worried about what people are going to think. What are they going to say? I don't have the support. I don't have the money. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I'm hoping and praying that something in you is ignited as a result of this short broadcast, and that you say to yourself, you know what? Life is too short. With the help of God, I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through this. And I'm going to be able to use this time in my life, as I'm doing now, by the way. I want to make that clear. I'm going to use this time in my life, use these moments of pain, and I'm going to turn around and be able to help other people as a result of it. In some way, I'm going to use this to help others. So I'm hoping and praying that this podcast, I should say, has inspired you to think about what are you going to do with the time that you have left. In every season that you look at, even when I looked at that season when we were 12 years old, my mom was fleeing a very, very abusive relationship in Arkansas. I remember when she went to the Greyhound bus station and she asked the Greyhound bus driver, where's the next bus going? And I remember he said Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And here she is with 3 kids and no money. She had just enough to buy our tickets. And she said, then that's where we're going. My mother was en route to build her legacy. And we got through it. And so that's one of the dots on my chart. That's one of my little periods, being 12 years old, downtown homeless. Seeing her go through so many situations in life that people probably would feel they can't live through. But when you draw all of that out, once again, I would love for you to sit back and smile and say, it's just a season. I'm going to make it through this. I am going to do something with the time I have left. I am going to allow God to use me to create a legacy to leave behind. And that's one last thing I want to talk about. When we did bury my mom, it hit me so hard that nothing of material value could go with her. Nothing. We didn't leave the furniture at the gravesite. We didn't leave a car. We didn't even leave jewelry, nothing. We left nothing at the gravesite because it couldn't go with her. So what really matters in life is you tapping into those seeds that God has planted inside of you, and you allowing those seeds to grow, even in the midst of the worst situations that you may find yourself in. And we're going to talk about that in some of the other episodes. But you allow those seeds to grow so that you can leave a legacy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm so happy that this is finally off the ground and that God has placed in my heart to share with the world what he's been sharing with me. So thank you for listening. This is Z. I love you all. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. This is Z again. Do not forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button. Bye-bye.